Multiple dwellings relief. What is it and how can it save you stamp duty land tax? Check out this video as I go through all of the details. Hi, my name is Simon Misiewicz.
And I'm Louise Misiewicz.
And we're talking to you today from Optimise Accountants. We're here to help property investors like you save tax on their portfolios. Now, if you're watching this channel and you're looking to invest or indeed move to the United States, then please check out the sister or indeed brother of this channel, Personal Tax. That channel will help you save tax across the Atlantic. Now, if you are indeed a property investor or a property developer and you want some useful tips, where can you go? Well, I'm pleased you've asked. You can go to the Property Experts panel on the first Monday of every month at 7 p.m. I'll be joined by other property expert panel members who are specialists in legal, mortgages. We have NRLA, LMPG, a property mentor coach. Lots of people to help you understand how to get started or to develop your property portfolio. There's a link below this video where you can register for the next episode.
So in this video, we're really going to get to grips with what multiple dwellings relief is and how you can apply it to minimise the tax you pay whenever you buy a portfolio property or indeed a commercial property at that too. The thing to bear in mind though is that we are not going to cover all aspects today. We're going to pick out the real key salient points for you. And if you would like to see or know more about this topic, then one of the ways that you can do that is to actually read our in-depth article on multiple dwellings relief and stamp duty land tax. And you can access that via the link below. So, stamp duty land tax and multiple dwellings relief. If you don't apply the multiple dwellings relief, then the stamp duty land tax you're likely to pay on your next property purchase will have a very nasty twist in the tail. Not only will you probably not benefit from Rishi Sunak's reliefs because they're on the way out as we record this video and might even be gone by the time you watch it, you've also got the 3% higher SDLT to pay, and now very recently brought in a 2% surcharge on SDLT if you are considered a foreign purchaser. And there's lots of detail around what the definition of foreign is, which I'm not going to jump into right now. So lots of SDLT to pay, not great. However, if you can apply multiple dwellings relief, then you'll find your stamp duty land tax bill may come down quite significantly. What is multiple dwellings relief? Well, it's a methodology that allows you to look at the average price of the dwellings that you're buying. And this applies when you're buying more than one dwelling at the same time from the same seller. So this is a real opportunity to minimize the tax. And you are basically managed in terms of how much you can save to either a 1% value of the property purchase plus the 3% additional rate in some cases, so a minimum tax of 4% in total. But it gets better, because if you are buying more than 5 residential dwellings at the same time from the same seller, you may find yourself in a place where actually you don't even need to apply multiple dwellings relief. Well, why on earth would that be a benefit, Simon?
That is a great question and one that I can answer. Basically, you have a table now being shown to you, which will show you the residential rates, which includes the 3% SDLT high rate. And as Louise says, if you buy 6 properties or more, there's a different rate. It is called the non-residential rates. So on this table, we are ignoring purposefully the Rishi Sunak holiday period because we know that people will watch this video after it's gone. This means that if you have a property that can be considered either 6 properties or more residential, or indeed you have a mixed use property then that too could be a non-residential rate for stamp duty land tax. Louise, just to bring to light, what is a mixed-use property? Because it sounds really kind of strange terminology.
So a mixed-use property is typically a building in which both a residential and non-residential elements are contained. So a great example could be a shop on the ground floor with above it perhaps a flat or several flats. It could also be, as an example, a office building underneath which is a flat or perhaps a series of flats again. So it's a combination of residential and non-residential units. So let's bring all of this to light with an example. And you know, I do love a good example. So in this scenario, you've decided you're going to buy a building, and inside that building are lots of elements just in terms of residential units. So you inform your solicitor of the purchase and they go away and calculate, wrongly, the stamp duty land tax. And the example of this is that the purchase value is £350,000. They assess that the stamp duty land tax banded rate, putting aside the Rishi Sunak relief, is £7,500. But they realise that it's going to either be a purchase in a limited company, or you're going to own on the day of purchase more than one property in addition to this. So they need to add on that 3% nasty surcharge that we've talked about, or additional rate. That ultimately means that your total stamp duty land tax bill that you'll need to pay in just 14 days after purchase is going to be a whopping £18,000. Have that cash ready, please. However, what your solicitor has mistakenly done is they have not applied multiple dwellings relief. Remember, you said there were 5 residential dwellings inside this building. And as a consequence, because there's more than one, you can look at multiple dwellings relief and see if it will save you some stamp duty land tax. So you decide you're going to do the calculation. Maybe bring on board Optimise Accountants to help you do that. And what you realise is that although the purchase price is the same, £350,000, that actually your stamp duty land tax banded rate is at the 1% rate, which is just simply £3,500. Now, because you are buying the asset, again, as I say, either in a limited company or it will be your second purchase, which you will still own on the day of purchase, then you're still going to pay that 3% rate. So when we add together the 3% rate and the 1% rate, you're now going to pay a stamp duty land tax bill of £14,000. Hang on, that's £4,000 cheaper than what your solicitor calculated. And that, unfortunately, is a case that we see regularly. A solicitor hasn't applied the reliefs available to them and therefore has resulted in paying too much of your money to HMRC Stamp Duty Land Tax Office. But what happens if you then look at this scenario in a bit more detail and you realise you're not buying 5 residential units in the building? What you're actually buying is 5 residential units and an office. And when I say an office, I mean an office that is let out to a business that are paying rent to make use of that section of the building as their own address for that business. So, didn't we talk about mixed-use properties, Simon?
We did. Before we go on to the mixed use, the one thing I do want to highlight to everyone listening into this, especially when you hear Louise talk about multiple dwellings in the same unit, we're not talking about a HMO. So a HMO typically will have 5 rooms that different people will live in that property. We are talking about dwellings. I'm talking about bedsits typically, whereby you have a separation of kitchens, living room space, as well as washing facilities. And there are many clients of ours that do indeed have a separation, even of a HMO, whereby they have a kitchenette and an ensuite. That, by definition, is a dwelling for local authority purposes, as well as stamp duty land tax. And my view, Louise, is when we're talking to solicitors, I'm not going to bash solicitors. A lot of solicitors are my friends, and you'll notice that on the Property Expert panel, where we have Tim Bishop. They're a great firm, Bishop's Law, and they do very well for us. So I'm not bashing anyone. But I think it's fair to say that when it comes to stamp duty land tax, a conveyancing solicitor should be asking much better questions, in our experience, than they currently are, and not using the generic HMRC SDLT tax calculator, which misses out on so many reliefs. Would you agree with that before we move on?
I would, and I think it boils down to maybe 3 to 5 questions that if your solicitor had asked and you had responded, you may have saved yourself thousands of pounds in overpaid tax. And those questions we can run through with you on tax calls, or indeed you'll see more about it when we come on to a tax calculator that we have to help our clients.
So moving on to that point of a mixed-use property, we've already explained what a mixed-use property is, and Louise then highlighted the fact that you may have a property, a bit like our flats, funny enough, at 2 Derby Road, where we had a bunch of residential dwellings and then a commercial building at the bottom. Now, if we had that as a purchase to buy from someone, there are so many advantages here. Louise has already talked about MDR and being able to calculate residential rates of SDLT based on the number of dwellings, which saves you lots of tax. But it goes further. If you buy a commercial building, then you've got this mixed-use property as well, which basically means that you've got a non-residential calculation to have, which is less than residential, and you save on the 3% SDLT high rate. Why is that? Because you don't pay 3% SDLT high rate on mixed-use properties because HMRC deem them to be non-residential. Therefore, the 3% doesn't apply. So as Louise has highlighted and what you're seeing on your screen now, not only could we have saved someone tax, and funny enough, we've had a couple of clients that have got this configuration whereby we have helped them save tax before they buy a property. You can see that on the screen. You could save tens of thousands of SDLT just by simply understanding the configuration of your building and whether you can claim MDR or indeed the non-residential rates as well. Finally, on this whole point of the 2% foreign surcharge, which Louise highlighted earlier, is that it is based again on residential, not on mixed use. So if you are in a place to buy mixed use property as a foreign purchaser, you do not need to pay this 2%. So that is another good way of saving lots and lots of SDLT.
So which amount of SDLT would you like to pay? The £18,000 or the £4,500? No trick question at all. Unfortunately for some of our clients, they do and have paid the higher rate and then brought it to our attention. And actually we've identified ways to save them that money. And the good news is it's not game over. You haven't lost it permanently. Within a specific window of time, we can actually claim that money back for our clients, whether it's because an MDR opportunity was missed or simply because there wasn't an understanding of non-residential rates applying to what looks like a residential purchase.
And as Louise has mentioned on that, if you are in a situation whereby you think you've overpaid stamp duty land tax, don't worry. There is a link below this video. It's a simple form that you need to fill in, and we will get back to you to say whether we feel that a SDLT refund is due to you and how we can go about delivering that for you. There is, of course, a stamp duty land tax calculator, which you can download for $9.95 to verify what the solicitor has told you to make sure you do not overpay. And it helps you to understand so many ways of helping you to minimize stamp duty land tax. And as Louise has said, we've only talked about a few guys. On this SDLT calculator itself, it brings to light a lot more opportunities than this video has time for.
So perhaps you want to download the calculator, but you know that your situation is relatively complex and you want to talk it through. That's absolutely fine. You can book a tax consultation with us. Again, the link is below. Please use the code YouTube25 to provide yourself with a 25% discount to the rate that's being shown on screen. That then will enable you to spend time with one of our tax advisors to run through your very specific situation and establish what is the correct amount of stamp duty land tax. And talking about paying, if this is helping you and helping you identify ways to minimise tax, please hit the like button, press subscribe, and leave us comments below if there's anything you'd like to discuss with us.
Until the next time, my name is Simon Misiewicz.
And my name is Louise Misiewicz.
And we'll see you all again soon.